Now it's time for our weekly energy update with Dan McTeague, President of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All yours, Dan.
Well, thanks for that, Julie. And what a week we're seeing again on markets. Energy markets tend to be in a bit of retreat. A little surprising given that this time of year we tend to see the beginning of demand as a result of summer driving. Now, of course, in the United States, that is until May 27th. Of course, in Canada, it's next weekend, the May 20th long weekends. But this year, of course, we're seeing maintenance that has been sort of by refiners that have been put over a little bit now starting to come online. And that's creating, according to the Wednesday's inventory report by the Department of Energy, it showed a bit of a build in gasoline inventories, almost 1.9 million barrels. You don't normally see that this time of year, but it may just be that a lot of refineries got back up and charged out very quickly. Crude inventories, however, understandably have fallen. And that really means that what we're about to see is that tug of war that we often see in which people look at oil prices and say, well, that should be the price. That'll give an indication of where the price of gasoline should be. But in fact, gasoline and oil run at very different, on different rhythms at this time of year, right until about September. So what that really means is that across the country, we're going to continue to see surprisingly lower prices than what we were just seeing a couple of weeks ago when we made the transition from winter to summer gasoline. Vancouver, which had hit 220, is now down at about 205 a liter, and that's what will be going to the weekend. We're going to probably see Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba not move much. Saskatchewan 156, Alberta, Calgary and Edmonton between $1.44 and $1.48. And of course, Winnipeg holding firm between $1.37 and $1.42. Ontario, well, we're looking at something a little different there because, of course, prices tend to range dramatically because some gas retailers offer as an incentive to get you to come into their parks. They often provide about a 6 or 7 cent retail margin discount. So at the high end, we're looking at 166. The low end, you can find gasoline in some places, especially around the Golden Horseshoe, Niagara region, sometimes places like Peterborough, Kingston, Sarnia, Chatham, where you might be able to get gasoline for as cheap as $1.54, $1.55. This week, I believe, however, we're going to start to see prices move up a little bit. So I would expect that by week's end, this time next week, we're going to see gas prices move up an average of about 3 cents a liter. Same for Quebec, which is also Montreal, Quebec City, 9 cents more expensive than Ontario. So they will follow the same pattern. As for Maritimes, Canada, we saw today and we saw yesterday a rather significant drop, 6, 7 cents a liter for gasoline, 4.5 for diesel. That's really, again, a pent-up reflection of what happened the week before, the rest of Canada. So I know some people love regulated prices. They don't really work very well for consumers. And the big discounts that we saw in a lot of places across Canada last week, you're now only getting in Atlantic Canada. So make the argument very clearly. If anybody thinks that in a world where prediction is pretty easy, that somehow regulated prices are going to help you. In fact, I think an argument can be made, and it's one made by myself and others, that regulated prices are in fact not in the consumer's best interest. That aside, let's look a little longer, Julie, at what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. All eyes are going to be focused not so much on what happens with summer demand, but what happens the first week of June. I know it sounds like it's a little further down the road, but we're only a couple of weeks away. OPEC is going to be meeting formally, and that's OPEC Plus, which will, of course, include Russia, as to whether they're going to continue the production oil cuts of 2.2 to 2.5 million barrels a day. Even with Canada stepping up to the plate, finally, for the first time ever, 590,000 barrels, although it costs you and I about $34 billion, because the federal government thought it'd be a great idea to allow every organization out there to go and attack this particular pipeline. At the end of the day, it won't be enough to meet what is apparently and what is very clearly surging demand for oil. So all eyes are going to be focused on what happens June 2nd and June 3rd. We'll have more to discuss at that time, but I think that will likely set the tone for what we're going to pay this summer. Of course, I can't predict things like hurricanes and other factors that disrupt fuel supplies and production, especially in the United States, nor can I be reasonably assured how markets are going to behave in the days to come. But suffice it to say that what you see is what you're going to get. Maybe up a couple pennies a liter this time next week, Julie. Other than that, you get a bit of a break before that long weekend comes up and we start to see prices marching back up. We'll talk next week.
Thanks for that, Dan.